Hello, welcome to ANS Solver. This is the sixth question of the paper. Sir Ramesh plans to carry out a survey in order to find out what adults in his town think about local sports facilities. He chooses a random sample from the adult members of a tennis club and gives each of them a questionnaire. Now, in part 1, give a reason why this will not result in Ramesh having a random sample of adults who live in the town. So basically, you know that the test is biased, okay, because he's going to a tennis club, correct? And it excludes people who don't like tennis because obviously, if people are going to the tennis club, they like tennis. So you can simply write biased, correct? Biased towards people, okay, who like tennis, correct, and does not include, correct, does not include people who don't like tennis, correct. This is what you can simply write, because if you're going to a tennis club, everyone will like tennis, which is biased. So yeah. Now part 2, describe briefly a valid method that Ramesh could use to choose a random sample of adults in the town. Okay, he can just make, so there are many ways he can do this. First, he can make a random list of the people in the town, okay, and he can use random numbers. Okay, it's a theory question. So obtain, you can write obtain a list, correct, of all people in the town, correct. Then he can choose randomly, correct, or he can use random numbers. Okay, he can use random numbers. It's a theory question, so yeah, correct. Now let's move on to part 3. Ramesh now uses a valid method to choose a random sample of 350 adults from the town. He finds that 47 adults think that the local sports facilities are good. Calculate an approximate 90% confidence interval for the proportion being the main word, of all adults in the town who think that local sports facilities are good. So this is basically the concept of probability proportion, okay, concept of proportion, where you know that your mean is equal to p. P is the probability of success, and a standard deviation is the square root, okay, of the variance. Your variance is basically p into q divided by n, where q is basically 1 minus p. Now what is your p? P is simply 47 by 350, correct. What is 47 by 350? I can simply write it on the calci, correct. 47 divided by 350, correct, which will basically give me 0.13428, and my standard deviation will be the square root, okay, of 0.13428 into 1 minus 0.13428, correct. This is what I can simply write. Now I can divide this by n. What is my n? 350. So now I get my standard deviation, correct. I get my variance basically as 0.00003325152. Now I do the square root of 0.000. I'll just solve it on the calci. Just give me a moment. I do 1 minus, just give me 1 minute. 47 over 350 multiplied by 1 minus 47 over 350, correct. Now I divide this by 350. Yeah, sorry, I was just solving it on the calci. So when I solve this on the calci, I get my answer as 0.018 225. Correct. Now I need to know that my confidence interval is 90%. So I now have a graph like this with here the area in between will be 0.90. Here I'll have 0.05 and here I'll have 0.05. Now I need the upper Z value, for which I'll do 0.90 plus 0.05, which is 0.95. So I go to MF19 page 10. I see the probability of 0.95, which has a Z value of 1.645. So I can simply say this is 1.645 and this is minus 1.645. Agreed? This is what I can simply write. Now I know it's the upper Z value, which is equal to the upper X value minus the mean, which is P, divided by the standard deviation, which is basically the root of PQ by N. So now my upper Z value is simple, which is 1.645, correct, which is equal to X upper minus the P, which is 0.13428, which I can simply divide by 0.018225. Correct? This is what I can simply write. Now, what I can simply do is, I can calculate the upper value, correct, which basically gives me the answer of 0.164. Correct? Now, for my lower value, I can do the Z lower equals to the X lower minus P divided by, I can do the root of PQ by N. Correct? This is what I can do. So I can write this as minus 1.645 equals to X lower minus 0.13428, which can be divided by 0.018225. So I get my X lower here basically as 0.104. So I can basically write this as lower, I know lower limit, comma the upper limit. So I simply write this as 0.104, comma 0.164. Correct? This is how I can write it as my final answer. Agreed? Now, what I can simply do is, I can go to part 4. Now, part 4. Ramesh calculates a confidence interval whose width is 1.25 times the width of the 90% confidence interval. Ramesh's new interval is an X% confidence interval. Find the value of X. So first, calculate the width of the old confidence interval in part 3. You know that your width is equal to 2 into the Z value multiplied by the standard deviation, which is basically the root of PQ by N. Now your width will be equal to 2 multiplied by the Z value for 90% we calculated, which is 1.645. So I write 1.645 multiplied by the standard deviation, which is 0.018225. So I write 0.018225. Correct? So I get my width basically as, I solve this on the calc, 2 into 1.645 multiplied by 0.018225. So I get my answer basically as 0.05996. Now the new width is 1.25 times this old width. Correct? So this is what I get. So now when I solve this, I get my answer basically as 0.07495. Correct? This is my new width. Now I need the Z value first to get the confidence interval. So I use the same formula here. So I write 0.07495, which is equal to 2 multiplied by Z multiplied by 0.018225. Now I can simply solve this on the calci. So I do 0.07495 divided by 2 multiplied by 0.018225, which basically gives me 2.05625. Now basically if I draw a graph here, because you need to understand this graphically, correct? I have two z values here. The first z value is 2.05625 and here this is minus 2.05625. And because of this, the area in green, which I am shading, is equal. But now we need the area in red. Correct? So first what I can do is I can calculate the area more than this z value. So with that I can simply use my calci. So on the calci, correct, what you can simply do is you can go on mode. When you go on mode, you can go on 3 where stat is written, correct. Then you can simply click on AC. When you click on AC, you can click on shift. When you click on shift, click on 1. When you click on 1, sorry, don't click on 1, my bad. Yeah, sorry, shift 1 and then you click on 5. Sorry, yeah. Then you'll get 1P, correct, 2Q, 3R and 4T. Now what you do is you need to know option 1 is for less than values, option 3 is for more than. Here first we are calculating more than the z value to get this area in green, correct. So I click on R, which is 3. So I basically get R with a bracket here where I simply put 2.05625, correct. When I put that, I get my answer here basically as 0.019879. But now this is basically the area here in green. I know the area here in green is also equal. So what I can simply do is I can do 0.019879 plus 0.019879, correct. So when I do this, I get my answer basically as 0.39758. But now this is the area totally in green. Now I need the area in red. So I do 1 minus this value, correct, because I know the total area is 1 as this is a probability. So now when I do this, I get my answer as 0.960242. Now I know this needs to be written, okay, in the percentage form, if you see here, because it's x%. So I know when I multiply this by 100, I get my answer as 96.02, but yeah, you can just write it as 96%, correct, correct. So this is basically the final answer, correct. Basically from here to here, I just multiplied by 100, correct. So yeah, this was a very good question. So yeah.